I want to ask you a little bit of your perspective on college basketball. You went through it as a parent. Of course, Jeremiah played at Georgetown and Indiana, so you lived that with him. And then Austin, 1 year at Duke and into the NBA, and you know all the conversations, you've heard all the debates about the NBA age minimum, the so-called one and done rule. So you've got the perspective of an NBA coach and a dad of someone who took advantage of that rule.
Yeah.
If you had your druthers, what would the rule be?
Well, it's a tough one. If I had my druthers, I would say this. I think some of the guys come in too young, and some of the guys are ready. Most are not. I just don't believe we should ever restrict a person from earning a living. You know, Bill Gates came out early, no one said a word. Michael Dell came out early. Tom, you can go down the list of great.
Steve Jobs, Dan Snyder,
yeah,
college dropouts.
It's just all, and because they had a vision, they saw something. I do believe there are geniuses in fields. There's guys who are ahead of the curve in fields. There are guys who are ahead of the curve in basketball. There are guys who are ahead of the curve in science. And I think those guys should be allowed to follow their vision. I just think there's too many people who think that they're ahead of the curve and are not. I wish there were some rule changes in college. You know, and some of them are huge. I've had conversations with coaches, a lot of coaches, and some of them, they're like, no way should we do that, and some believe it.
Give me a couple.
Well, the one rule that I think is if a kid goes to a college and enters a draft and doesn't like where he's drafted, he should be allowed to go back to college.
I agree.
I think you should go back. And, you know, maybe we could figure out a way of the NBA still keep his rights, but he just says, you know what, I'm going to go back and play more and up my value and get ready. I don't know why, because I declared that I can't come back.
You'd think that college would want these guys back because they're great players and they don't have to be professionals. They don't have to be on salary.
And, you know, the bad side of that is then everybody would declare. Well, that's fine. Everybody would just come back. You know, so it's no big deal. I actually think kids should be allowed to transfer. That's the big one.
Without sitting out, you mean?
Without sitting out. I think that's awful.
I can't go with you on that one.
Yeah, see, I think, I mean, why not? Listen, coaches transfer. They don't have to sit out.
Right.
To me, there has to be something in college to protect the kids, and there really isn't. Everything that's built in college is to go against the kid. I mean, I felt like the NCAA at times are working harder to get a kid not to play than to play. And I don't want to hear about the student-athlete stuff because it's not realistic. It really isn't. If you're going to give a kid 4 years to play, I think you should give him 4 years after that to really get his education.
What do you think about it in terms of the way the college game is played? Like, I think there should be a shorter shot clock.
Oh, I do too.
You agree with that?
Yeah.
Would you go to 24 or would you go to 30?
I would go to 24.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but that won't happen. But I think most of the coaches would like that. You know, there's a lot of rules that the coaches want but just can't say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I do think the coaches would like that a lot.
I am absolutely humbled to be sitting in this room and looking around me with the banners that hang.
You talk about the Celtics hiring Brad Stevens. What's interesting to me about that is if you look at the NFL, they're plucking guys out of the college ranks left and right, and they're trying to make it more like the college game, the spread offense, the pistol, the read option. The NBA, I feel like there's been a stigma against college basketball coaches succeeding in the NBA. I mean, it seems to me like 2/3 of the coaches are getting fired anyway, so why wouldn't you? Why isn't this happening more?
The stigma is, I don't think a college coach has ever, in the history, been successful. But I think they can. You know, just because it hasn't happened. You know, the argument I tell people, I've gotten it this summer from a lot of Boston people. Why would we hire a college guy? Because he's a good coach. That's why. And listen, the reason, if you look at all those college coaches that have come in, they've taken bad jobs.
Right.
Newt Rockne would have lost in most of the places that those guys have gone. So if you take a bad job, you're going to lose. That's the bottom line. And if people aren't patient enough to allow you to build your program, then you're going to be out. And unfortunately, that's most of the jobs. You know, Billy Donovan and I are good friends, and that was the job. You know, I still tell him that.
The magic.
That was the job. I tell him, you would have been successful. That team was good. You could have broken the seal. And he laughs about it, but it's true. You know, that was a great job and a great opportunity. Having said that, he has a pretty good thing at Florida, and I get it.
He's got tenure.
Yeah.
He probably would have been fired twice by now if he had taken that job.
Exactly.